sniffers and sprue snippers, and welcome back to Blitzkrieg Motorworks. I'm Bob, you know me as Dark on the forums. How's it going, everybody? So the first armor build of 2018, I'm going to be doing the Cyber-Hobby Panther F. This is basically just a bit of a rebox of the Dragon kit of same box art, same kit number actually, of 6403. The Cyber-Hobby version has a few extra goodies in it over the Dragon version. There's another sheet of photo etch, there's a couple of metal bits, a couple of plastic bits, and a metal barrel. Great kit from what I've seen. I'm going to show you all the little parts. There's going to be a couple of caveats to this particular in-box review. The first one is, I lost the instructions for this thing. It's okay, I did manage to find a set online. It was kind of difficult because most of the companies that post the instructions, they're for the Dragon kit. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. When I first started looking at these other instructions, it was like, well, these parts aren't in the instructions. There's not even on the Sprue map. I've got them printed out onto legal size paper. They're a little fuzzy, but they're okay. They're readable. I'll show you what an actual Dragon one looks like. There's a follow-up kit to this with the L100 barrel. It doesn't have all the goodies and the photo etch and the magic tracks and all that stuff. The other caveat is this review is going to be a bit long. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of parts in this kit. There's a lot of stuff to go through, a lot of details, and a few different options that you kind of have to decide on fairly early on depending on what you want to do. So I'm just going to move the box over to the bench and we'll go over the quick box before I rip it open and go through the instructions and everything. Okay, so here we have the box, very nice box art. From what I can see, it is pretty much identical to the Dragon kit, the only difference being the Cyber-Hobby logo. So you have a view of the extra goodies that come with the kit. That's the extra sprue that you get. You get this one in the base kit, and the decals are the same. A couple of different camouflage choices. And some of the goodies, the steel wheels, which they are actually much nicer than the Tamiya ones. Really nice detail with the hull. You get a couple of different hull choices. There's two different engine covers. They're almost identical, but there's a little bit of difference. You get a nice multiple piece cupola with clear periscopes. And the newly designed small term, this is not the same small term on the old 1990s Panther F. Those things were oversized because of some mismeasurements that were taken at the Bovington Museum. You get a nice little pressed brass metal sheet part for the weather cover. But they don't tell you anything about the metal barrel, because I think they just took the Dragon box and just replaced their logo. It even says Dragon everywhere else. You know, well, the end wraps are Cyber-Hobby. Then the bottom, it's same as the Dragon kit. Some really nice track hangers. These are the nicest plastic ones I've seen. I'm really excited to try those out, because that just looks insane. Way better than any other plastic one that I've seen to date. Lots of other goodies. Sorry for the glare. A couple of different options for your radiator fans. Slide molded rear stowage boxes. Those are really nice. The cylindrical stowage box, that's really nice and plastic. The Cyber-Hobby kit gives you additional metal parts to redo it all in metal and photo etch. There's a different idler. The one-piece metal gun you do get the one-piece plastic barrel in the kit, and it is hollow molded and it's slide molded as one piece, so you just have a bit of a part line to deal with. No rifling, but it is plastic. It's quite nice. Really nice jack. No-tech light. Several different options for exhausts. The flame arresting exhausts are just nuts when you take a look at them. Really nice tools. Close-in defense weapon, although they give you stuff for the inside and you're never going to see it. Nice set of magic tracks. There are the track links with separate guide teeth that are for the sprocket section. Apparently there's a fit issue or something. Just be aware of it. It's not going to bother me when I end up building it, but just be aware of that. So these are not the kit instructions. These are the one for their follow-up Panther F kit with the really long L100 barrel. That's kit 6799. But just to show you that the blurry stuff that you're going to see, that's not what you normally get with Dragon. So this is what I managed to print off. I printed it off on letter size. You do get a fair bit of blue to be expected. There's a lot of shared sprues with their Panther G kit. So you get two different upper hulls. One is for a prototype version that have the Panther G swing open type hatches, and the other's for the Panther F production slide, pop up and slide open type hatches. You get a bathtub style lower hull, the rear engine deck, and I'm really surprised because they have the idler wheels on here, but you don't actually use a lot of, some of the parts. You get them, they're down here. Fair bit of blue. You just there's some really neat gun set. You only use one, but I'll show you why it's really cool. A bunch of magic tracks. You do get a full set of rubber road wheels if for whatever reason you don't want to use the steel wheeled stuff, or you can just use them in your spare set. Lots of photo etch, several different sheets, metal gun barrel, metal tube. There's a sheet of photo etch which is supposed to go on the glacis plate, lower glacis plate. It looks really strange because there's no weld texture. You'll see when I pull it out of the box. And then there's a couple of different final drive options which you're going to have to decide on pretty much right off the bat, because that's step one. So you get your color callouts, and right away, as usual, we go on to the suspension and drivetrain. So you have your radiator and cooling fans. You have all of your swing arms, and if you install them right, they actually do kind of function. Here's where they call out parts for the early or late production. That is just for the final drive housings and the guide roller for the tracks. And you have final assembly. And again, you have to decide whether you want a roller or just a steel guide. Then you have your choices for your exhausts, either or. Really nice jack, some final assembly, your rear storage boxes, which are slide molded. The detail, when you see it, it's really nice. I usually would photo etch the crap out of these things, but out of the box they're really, really nice. Oh, got some upside down stuff. Got a couple upside down ones. Oops. So you actually get a couple of different 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to 11. One is for the prototype version, and it is marked for prototype version, and the other is marked for production version. The only difference that I can see between the two is which style of hatches that you want, whether you want the prototype Panther G's type swing open hatches or the pop and slide open Panther F type hatches. There is also one little additional detail that you have to do. You have to modify the driver's periscope. You have to cut out a piece and put in another part before you pile everything else on, which seems a little odd, whereas you don't have to do it for the production type. Now, one of the other options you have, if you have the Dragon kit, you will only have this option for the tubular storage bin on the side, which is still quite nice. But in the Cyber-Hobby kit, you get all this photo etch and the metal tube for it as well. So that's really quite nice. When you see them, they're really something to see. But other than those details, all the other parts are the same, and assembly is still the same, so I'm not really going to focus on one or the other. I happen to have the production type in my hand, so I'll just go through that. So you go through more parts for the production type, lots more photo etch, which you get in the prototype version as well. You get your track hangers with your spare magic tracks, and you can actually pin these together. It's really nice. You can use the molded plastic parts. for the tool racks, or you can use the provided photo etch metal parts if you really want to drive yourself nuts. They even give you tool clamps. These go together the same way that the Aber and Voyager and whatnot all go together. They are a real pain, but they look so much better than ones that the kit gives you that's molded on, even though the ones in the kit are actually pretty darn good. Then we go on to turret assembly, and from what I could see, this is identical between the other kit and this one, other than the barrel. So I'm presuming in the Dragon version it's just the plastic barrel versus the metal one. Everything else is quite nice. You get clear periscopes, nice 3-piece commander's hatch. The rear hatch is posable, but there's no real detail on the inside of the hatch. Then you have your final assembly for the turret. You do get braided metal cables for your tow cables, and you have a couple of different ways you can pose them. They do look quite nice. And you get this insane photo etch for the travel lock for the gun barrel. There's 2 different sets, so you can have it with this curved section. This would be having it locked in place, and the other one is having it open, so they'd just be draped down. And here's where they tell you for, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 links to use these other tracks with the glue-in guide horns. I'm not sure why. I've heard that there's a fit issue. It's not going to bother me actually, because I'm going to be using the R model tracks. Well, it might be an issue with the R models until I try them out. Won't really know. And then there's your painting guide. So they give you production, and prototype. And all the color callouts are Sanyo Gunzi, and there's lots of different conversion charts for, Tamiya or Vallejo or MiG or whatever else you want. So that's it for the instructions. Again, simple, straightforward. Like with any Dragon kits, though, kind of look 2 or 3 steps ahead to make sure everything's gonna, you're not missing anything out of the lower hull ahead of time. Bathtub style has some sponsons there. There are additional parts to go in that have some detail. The way you can build this, if you're careful gluing it in, the suspension stays operable. So if you want to pose it with an articulated suspension, you can do that. Or once everything's in and you get the wheels all leveled out, you can just glue everything into place. Very nice weld seam detail. Unless you have this thing flipped on its side, you're never going to see it. But it is nice. But other than that, nothing special. Like I said, shares parts with the Panther D. This is part A, so this is the upper hull, again, from their Panther G. So this is for the quote-unquote prototype unit. So this is a, was it 2004, 2006 molded kit? No date on it. It's a nice surface texture, nice weld detail. They nicely mold it so you can have certain panels off. You get 2 engine deck hatches. I'm not really sure what the difference is. They're different part numbers, but they appear to be identical. Same number of parts. The only difference is the bolts holding them down are just slightly recessed on one over the other. Bow machine gun. It's really nice. Weld detail. Fenders look pretty good. They are thinned a little bit on the edges. Attachment points for the hatches. So that's A, and then you get a couple of A2. So this is mostly engine deck and some detail stuff. Idler wheel mount, the hatch for your turret, fan housings, 1-piece flame resting exhaust. That is really cool. And that is insanely well done for plastic. That is really nice. Hollow bottom. I think there's a part that goes in. Yeah, that would be probably this part. No, maybe not. I'll have to check. Pretty sure there's something that goes in there. Idler wheel. Nice detail. Be interesting to see what Ryfield models are coming out with a Panther G with a full interior. Nice to see what that would look like in comparison to this. This is Sprue B. This is specific to the Panther F. This gives you the production version of the lower or the upper hull with the sliding driver and radio operators hatches. A very nice small term turret. That is the slide molded plastic barrel. It is hollow molded on the end. You have the driver and radio operators hatches, which also have a little bit of detail. Not that you're going to see anything because they pop up and slide. Front and back of the turret with some very nice weld detail. You have the commander's cupola, which has an inner and an outer race. Mantlet, rear hatch, little blisters for the range finding unit with some nice weld pattern on there. They're not hollow, but you can hollow them out, put some black paint in if you like. This is your turret machine gun, and they actually hollowed out the tip. Normally I'd do that or use you can get metal barrels as well. Don't really need to with that. Old school, we'd used to use syringes, like diabetic syringes, and we'd file and sand the needle tips off so they weren't so stabby, and then we'd use them. Very nice. Very, very nice. But where are we here? So again, nice weld detail there. Some nice weld detail on the sides. Fenders look good. Slightly thinned. This is Sprue C. Again, shared sprue from the G hull. So these are the actual undersides of the sponsons. So those will go underneath your, like so. You have different covers for your exhausts where they come out. Bow machine gun, travel lock, a few other smaller details, a couple of different bow machine guns. Some very nice cast texture on it. Track hanger, where are we here? Track hanger brackets with pinholes. That's impressive as hell. Normally I use photo etch for this. I'm just really hoping, I haven't test fitted it yet. I'm opening up the bags and just showing them to you. I haven't gotten to the magic track yet. I'm going to test the magic tracks in here to make sure they fit, because when the tracks are on, you should be able to put a pin through there, and that's what would hold the track on, keep it from falling off. So that's awesome all by itself. Late style driver's periscope cover. Tool racks. Pretty nice. Late style raised heater fan. Fenders. Gun barrel cleaning kit. Track block's got some pretty decent wood grain on it. Yeah, I just can't get over those hanger brackets. That's wild. Injection plastics come a long way. Sprue D, yet another shared sprue from the Panther G. This is rear hull. Hatches for the driver and radio operator.
engine hatch cover, your radiator, intakes and cooling fans, components for the fans as well. Fairly simple. Just on a bit of a side note, if you have a Panther like a Tamiya, for example, and they don't include these, they're just hollow inside, and you actually want to see something in there, there is a company that does make resin fan inserts. And basically just paint these up like normal, give them a bit of a wash to get any release off of them, paint them up as normal, and then just glue them in with super glue. And they work pretty well. I've got a few sets of these because when I was buying Panthers, none of them came with this stuff. Again, yet another shared sprue. The only things you use with these are the suspension torsion bar setup. That's it. Everything else, like you don't use the rubber rim road wheels. You do use these return shocks. These are not blued out. These are the tracks that I was telling you about with the spare links. Ooh, I just noticed that they even give you wing nuts. Those are going to be quite the fun game to try and take off. Little bit of punch out pin marks, not too bad. Hopefully there's nothing on the magic tracks. But if you want to use the rubber rim road wheels, they are very, very nice. From what I understand, they're quite accurate. And I'm just checking something here. I need to put on my magnifying glasses here. Oh, there is a seam on the road wheels. I was hoping they wouldn't have had. Focus on my thumb. There we go. I was hoping that there wouldn't be a seam there, but it's not too bad to do those, take that off, but it is kind of a pain. I was kind of hoping the seam would kind of be on an upper or lower edge, but no big deal. Pretty much the same as everybody else's. But molding wise, but detail wise, these are really nice. This is Sprue F, another shared sprue. The sprue map actually shows, if I can grab this here, actually shows two different mantlets, so I would presume that it would be the early and the late, as well as the rear stowage boxes, but in actuality you only get the late mantlet with the chin, which you don't use anyway. But if you do get a Panther G, that's very nicely done. And the detail on the stowage boxes, normally I have to use photo etch for this stuff, and this is actually quite nice. Quite nice. Sprue G, again a shared sprue. So here's where your first option goes. You can have early or late production final drive housings. There's not a lot of difference. They're pretty much the same, other than where the guide roller for the tracks goes, and I know it's a different guide roller. You do get some steel wheels on these. This is probably for their steel wheel G. They do a kit with a G, Panther G, that has all rubber road wheels except the very last station before the idler wheel where they had steel wheels, because apparently when they actually did steel wheels on the Gs, they were having problems with the steel wheels breaking guide teeth off the tracks. So these are the backs of your stowage boxes. There's some other covers here and there. Nice detail for your dry sprockets. The inside as well. The steel wheels. So there's nothing blued out on this sprue, so supposedly you use everything. Okay, this is all Sprue K with the additional Sprue L. They come kind of disassembled, as it were. Now, it looks like you use pretty much everything. You don't use this piece. L2, but you'd use the antenna L1. So most of this is just tool stowage. So you can see these have the molded on plastic tool clamps, which are pretty good. The photo etch stuff is way better, but it's kind of nightmarish to put together until you get the hang of it. Really nice detail on the jack. And then really nice detail, especially on that fire extinguisher. That's really nice. The no-tech light's quite good as well. That's the front. That's the base for the no-tech, so it actually has some it's got some conduit for the base, which is really nice. And for whatever reason, you get like another set of tools. Look to be, oh no, I guess they're different. These are your tow cable ends. So these are for your tow cables, these are for your track cables. And they're hollow molded, so you can stick your wire in the back. Then the antenna has a little bit of flash on it. It's a little rough. Almost looks like it was broken, but that's just how it's molded. It's just a flash. So these are all the other goodies that come in on the card with the Magic Tracks. So you get part MD. This is like a additional armor that goes onto the lower front glacis plate. Fits in like that. It's pretty thin. I don't know if you'd even notice if it wasn't there. I guess it's to make it because the front armor was a lot thicker. But I find it really odd they did this because there's no detail on that, like at all. It's just smooth. There's no weld detail. There's no surface texture. I mean, the surface texture that's on here is almost nothing, but the weld seam detail is quite nice. So, I doubt you'd see it if you really wanted to hide that. You could just throw some mud on the lower hull. No one would be the wiser. You could putty these in and do your own weld seam and cut marks. I think it would be a lot easier than trying to do it on stainless steel. But it is included for that purpose. This comes in the Dragon kit as well. These are your engine deck screens, and they are quite nice. You can see they replicate the woven texture quite well. A lot better than their old stuff that came in the original Panther F and the Panther 2 kits that were like smooth as a baby's butt. Another Sprue L, obviously different from the one with the antenna on it. This one has all your clear periscopes and some internal light parts. So you could paint the glass components with like Tamiya clear green, which would be X25, and then back it up with whatever chrome paint you want. And then usually these were done in a black or a dark olive green. Rarely did I see them in anything else, but I suppose they could have been in a kind of a tan color. This is your extra photo etch. You get your travel lock chains. These are for your track pins. A lot of these parts are for your tool clamps. Some additional photo etch for these would be for the rear two stowage bins on the rear of the hull. Not as nice as the ones that Abernet give you, but those are pretty dainty. Bunch of parts, and even this part down here is for the metal tube, which rolled off. This is the metal tube they give you, and if you don't want to use the plastic one for the round side stowage bin, you have this and then a bunch of other components on here for that. One of the new rear idler pieces, this replaces one of the main pieces. You still use a few of the other components. Sprue TG. This is your close-in support weapon. You have the option of closed or open, and then there's the actual internal launcher, which there's no interior detail other than that, so why would you bother having this open? And then this is Sprue J. I would presume this is a shared sprue with the Panther Gs for an MG34. This is your typical MG34 vehicle mount with the triggering device, ammo bag. I think the only part you're actually using is this piece for the MP44 or the STG44. And then you have your woven track cable. This is your tow cable, sorry. This is the heavier of the two. There's supposed to be 2 lengths in there. And then you have your track cable, which is quite smaller. Don't know if you can use bluing on this or track burnishing fluid, or if you can just paint it. Whoops, almost forgot the decals. This is the same sheet that you get in the Dragon kit, printed by Cartograph, which are very nice decals. No real color options, just 0 through 5, a couple of different fonts, 4 crosses. So the barrel comes in its own nice little package with a nice bent brass, not photo etched, it's really thick, nice bent brass rain cover that goes over the gun mantlet. This glues onto the turret and goes over the mantlet. This would be to keep rain out. Normally this is like a molded plastic piece that's on the turret already, but this is really nice. And you get one of these in the L100, the long barrel gun kit as well. The barrel is really nice, machined aluminum. Nice finish on it. Hollowed out, but like I said, unfortunately, no rifling. No rifling, I'm just looking.
So that concludes the inbox review of the Cyber-Hobby Panther F. I'm going to be doing a full-on build review in bits and pieces like I usually do. I won't be using a lot of the goodies that come with the kit though. I'm not going to be doing the magic tracks or the photo etch or the metal barrel. I have like Voyager and Furl, or not Furl this time. I'm using the R model ones that I showed you earlier that have those insane brass machine CNC pins that hold the tracks together. So that's all going to be done on this one. I might use some of the goodies on the other one that they have for the Dragon kit, what I'll do an inbox review of as well with the L100 gun. That's a really, really long, goofy thing that I think it's a World of Tanks kit. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't. If you want to get updates for when I put out new videos, don't forget to ding the little bell down there by the subscription. And thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.